right? So it's a novelization of my experiences with Alistair Hoffman, who is Quentin Tarantino, right? Named after Aleister Crowley and Albert Hoffman, right? Right. So if we take a second to talk about the writing, of course, it's all hindsight, right? It's like I didn't write really like during the weekend at Fish at all, right? All of this, right, for the next perhaps 60 pages is written in a kind of hindsight where it's more of like a diagram, right? So the first 150 pages or so are of a final draft, right? And then the last 100 pages are also of a final draft, right? I filled a 100-page composition notebook in like 3 days, you know? And so this is right. This is what writers say. This is what they all say, that a writer gets one chance like this, right, where it all just kind of cascades out of you, right? So, right, I like the pages a lot. Those British people were really lovely people. I forget their names. But I hope to see them again. You know, I do. Really beautiful girls. 3 really nice guys. And that girl that does sound. All this, you know. Again, it's Motley Crue is Tom Cruise, right? Jason Momoa is Jason Momoa, right? Whatever the other one was, Paul Rudd, right? That she was working on the film set that Paul Rudd was working on when he got named People's Sexiest Man Alive. She said that's the only reason that he was nice at all. Right? She also, was working on something with Brad Pitt. I can't remember. F1. Yep, she was there. She did the sound. I hear sound. Right? Motley Crue, Tom Cruise, really funny stories, really awful. You know, that tape that we've all heard of him like bitching about masks on Mission Impossible. Yeah, she said that was the last 3 minutes of a 20-minute tirade where he said the most deplorable things that anyone could possibly say about anyone, right? Jason Momoa has a guy follow him around constantly, and he's prating like an ass in front of that phone or the camera, you know, constantly. That's right. That he's a fucking Hollywood jerk. Doesn't want to look anybody in the eye unless he knows his social media feed's getting fed. Right? Same with Paul Rudd. Right? It's just so ironic, right, that I would meet her. And of course I talked about actors, you know, like I'm an actor. I understand. Right? You go to anybody who's been to Actors Equity, right, in Midtown, they know. Right? Unless they're oblivious, right? That everyone in that room is the most important person in the room. Right? So, right? This is my ticket, right? This is where Quentin set me up at a screening of Jackie Brown last year. Right? He wanted me to question him about this book. Right? There's his autograph, right? But I didn't say I have a question, right? I aborted the scene. I aborted the highest magic in show business, and I've spent so much time, right? I did so much. I abandoned all of my worldly possessions, right, and my job, right? All to make it right, all to show him, right, that I respect it. But of course, you know, like this, and this is my point, right? That this isn't about a movie anymore, right? It hasn't been about a movie. Right, since I heard him, right? This is about power. He doesn't want an actor in the world whose mind he can't control, right? And so, right, I thought that this is the letter I wanted him to take, right? This is the letter that was in that book. And so, right, I thought I might read it. Quentin, I have my 10 questions condensed to a single page. I thought I wanted to write you a letter. Now I'm not sure. I decided last minute to bring a guitar. and now I've decided to bring it to the theater. Thereby I can play. I intend to be the first person there. They might make me abandon it at the door. I am prepared. It will upset me. Though the management's authoritative relay of the policy might... Maybe this place is different. I got attacked by a small spider earlier. Perhaps it bit me twice, maybe once. I moved off of the grass upon the second encounter, and now I'm sitting on a bench near the band shell in Central Park by the Lincoln Center. I would busk along this road all the time last year. Maybe I won't give this to you. Would you even accept it? I forgive you, Quentin. Forgive me. All this time in limbo, you and I. I know you, as I have been on an emotional roller coaster. I don't want you to hate me. Do you resent me? Traveling here was exhausting. I did not get home from work until almost 7:30 at night. Had to get up at 1:30 and scramble to get everything in order for me to make my 6 a.m. flight here. Obviously, I've made it, but I am tired now. I don't see why we can't start over. Nothing is too far gone. I know what you're thinking, that now life imitates art, and I really am one of your characters. I've never manipulated you or coerced you by any other way than writing, and I lament upsetting you, but I regret nothing. You don't get to read 40-plus sincere pages from me and say nothing without accepting whatever may come of it. From nothing comes nothing. I don't want to write on, even if, and maybe especially if, I want to. I've never wanted to make a fool of you. I care about this role in this film. This is why I wrote you 1 year to the day this Sunday. Not the date, but it was this coming Sunday last year. I wrote the first letter. The second on Monday, mailed on Tuesday. The third written on Wednesday, mailed on Thursday, I think. I'm the guy. Everything I've done is towards my certainty. There is no reason we have to be at each other's throats. Let's make a fucking movie. It is just shy of 9:40 a.m. postscript. I am all but ready to head to the theater. The dog kennel, person-sized, I paid money to sleep in, is a 7-minute walk from the theater. I have reread the letter I wrote yesterday around dusk, and while you might not even sign my copy of Cinema Speculation, I reckon I find no egregious faults within the page itself, and so I included here underneath the cover, stuffed in an envelope. The letters you refused, though excellent, at least of a kind, were passionate, so maybe it is best your people refused them both, and perhaps you refused this one as well. But whatever the case, I'm here. You see me, we see each other. We saw each other. Writing is a reflex, a valve. I have directed the flow of words towards you 3 times now. Twice out of appreciation, once out of scorn. Now I've come, whatever the outcome, to show you I'm not an abstract intellectual formula. I'm a flesh and blood actor who is also a writer. With love, Brian. Right? Right? So, he stuck his nose up at my letter, turned his back on me, and I turned my back on my career. It's his show. He's allowed to play fucked up mind games. That's fine. That's fine. Right? But now, right? Now it's just degenerated into evil, right? And so that's why I wrote The Pope. That's why I have this channel, right? There's no formula where we persist in this way for 15 years, right? He's a dangerous degenerate, right? Who is so obsessed with seeing me expire, right, that he risks destroying his family, destroying his children, destroying his marriage, right? And so what do I mean, right? We're playing the psychic occult mind game. That's the game that we're playing, right? The transcendental magic, right? So he's using his mind as a weapon, sending out attacks of intention, right? And so, right, I've blasted the psychic landscape with it, right? Every time he meditates on my demise, right? Right? He poisons his boy thereby, Leo Tarantino, right? Right? And so what I'm saying right now is that he's focusing, right? And this is so base, it's so degenerate, it's just like incomparable evil, right? Like anyone who has an actual heart, right, would say, okay, that's it. That's fucked up enough for me, right? That he is, right, if any of him or any of that cabal of degenerates that practice this witchcraft, this sorcery with him, right, if any of his psychic energy, right, while he's doing these awful, disgusting things, right, is divested to his son, to his children, right, to his wife, right, to the people he cares about, right, they get the business end of it as well. That's how it works. Right? Unequivocal. This logic is flawless. Right? Right? So? Right? I suppose I'll stop. That's a nice reading. Some good pages. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Know that life is not an accident. There is a latent intellect, a conscious field, diffused within every cubic centimeter of space, right? Within that, an infinite complex nesting of polyhedra, right? Right? Johannes Kepler, right? The celestial zephyr, the conscious field, breathes, it executes its motion through the subatomic scaffolding, right, which is a quantum hologram of probability, of electric waveform potential, probability, right? And so the pressure of the celestial zephyr, right, imposed upon the hologram, right, the dihedral angle or angles, the specific, right, angle that it imposes itself upon the scaffolding, right, reflects what it manifests in the material world as. Right? So the pressure creates electric resistance, right? Until, right, it transmutes it into corpuscular matter, measurable matter. This is how mind generates matter out of space, right? And is how mind manifests complex life, complex celestial conditions, complex atmospheric strata, right? Mineral, vegetable, animal, man, right? This has nothing to do with religion. This has nothing to do with chakras, nothing to do with crystals, right? Right? But it is a religious understanding, right? It is a line in the sand that you draw. That you say, okay, I say that mind and intellect preceded motion. Those are your two options, right? Which came first, mind or motion, right? Did motion move upon the face of the waters and memory became a reflex of that, right? Or is it the other way around, right? Is it a psychic pressure which engendered motion in space, right? So, man coming into the world, coming out of the haze of his animal instincts, looked up, saw Orion in the sky and said, oh, that looks like me. Therefore, what's up there has something to do with me, right? My point is that religion is a necessary psychological reflex, right? Evil in the mind of man, right? Conspiracies towards destruction is a reflection of the necessity of inherent vice in nature, right? If everything just grew unabated, there would be no dynamics. Life would not be able to perpetuate itself. It would become one giant static photon, right? So, Platonic forms, right? Everything resides in the realm of idea. Since there is a quality in nature that compels it to decay and die, they must have a psychological mirror. It must have an intellectual shadow with which to develop around, right? And this is mirrored in the psyche of man as evil. That's it, right? So, right, all instances of psychic phenomenon, remote viewing, clairvoyance, is the mind of the adept tapping into the conscious field's non-locality. right? Right? And though I speculate here on some level, I suspect it is inherently obvious, it's obviously true, that instances of remote viewing, right, are intimately connected to the science of quantum entanglement. Right? That the atomic structure of the actual physical brain of the adept harmonizes the behavior of its material with the atomic structure's behavior of the disparate locales, which opens up the psychic aperture. Right? See what's good in your life. Uplift your soul to God. Life is not an accident. Pray for me, pray for Quentin. Right? 9601 Wilshire Boulevard, Beverly Hills, California, 90210. If you want to write